Welcome to VOTEHOME, the podcast series that wants you to have a choice on 9th of June 2024. My name is Narcis Matache, and together with Zoe Nicot, we'll be hosting the lead candidates from hopefully every political party in Denmark standing for European Parliament elections.
Indeed, and over the next 60 minutes, you'll get to know one of our guests. So we have a special guest today, and we will get to know its political standing, relationship with the international community in Denmark, a view on the future of the EU, European identity, knowledge, and also stay tuned because we will, in the last bit, we'll have a fun challenge.
And our guest today is a bit more special than the ones we had previously, because actually she's standing up for a party that's not just Danish party, it's a transnational political party, and the first actually transnational political party in Europe called Volt. Unfortunately, they didn't get enough signatures to be running in Denmark, but they are running in many other EU countries. So we have here with us today Kathrine Richter. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She's the one who founded the Danish chapter of Volt in 2018, and she actually even ran for European Parliament in 2019 in Belgium, also obviously for Volt. I guess we'll get to know more about Kathrine as we are. Welcome, Kathrine, to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Narcis. Thank you, and to you too, Zoe. It's wonderful to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. So let's dive straight into it. First, I'd like to just have a brief introduction of you. It would be great if you could tell us a bit about your background. Why did you decide to go into European politics? What were your motivations in the first place? So over to you, Kat.
My background is as an historian. I graduated from Copenhagen University back in 2008, and I studied nationalism and national history. And I remember graduating thinking, well, I guess we're not really going to reference that anymore. We're not going to talk about nationalism much more. We're so international now. We're looking outward. We're thinking about how to work together and stuff. And then as years gone by and we had our global financial crisis, but Brexit and the election of Trump has really been a motivator for me personally, as well for a lot of other people that I've met throughout the past years. Because with Brexit, we've fully understood how valuable the European community is. But what I found in 2016 was that I had no concept of how to be political. To me and to many other people in Denmark, being politically active is not something the majority of people are. They are not in political parties. They are not necessarily active with political opinions, but we vote a lot in Denmark. We certainly vote. And so for me, the first couple of years was really about learning how to be politically active in a way that was comfortable for me. Because I think, as everyone has found out, being in the public sphere can be interesting for sure, rewarding for sure, because you get to perhaps change a few things, but it's also very hard. And for me, it was very important that I didn't want to just be one of those people that wasn't able to stay the course for the long term. So for me, it's been very important that my political activism was very much linked to sustainability, both personally, financially, but also being active in things that make sense to me personally and where I can see that it's important to be active. And Europe is definitely important to be active in.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your introduction and this motivation. So tell us a bit more about what makes Volt different or special from other European parties or political parties. And if your party gets elected in other countries, which is probably likely, you can also tell us a bit about your prognosis. What are some concrete projects that you're looking to work on for the next few years in Parliament?
So what makes Volt unique is the fact that we are a pan-European party. That word doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but the idea of running on the same political agenda across countries is very new, but also extremely important. Because what I have found in the last 7 years I've been active with Volt, 6 years I've been active with Volt, is that we have the same challenges all over Europe, just in different aspects, different varieties, and different intensities. But the challenges that we face are all the same. And we all need to fix climate change. We all need to have a hold on migration, and we need to have a strong labor market. We need to fix our economy. All these things are actually quite similar across the different countries. And the way that Volt works is that we work together, we learn, we talk to each other, which isn't a new thing. But we use those conversations to then say, right, now that we know what the problems are in all the different parts of Europe, how do we then fix it? What are the root causes? So we don't just look at the symptoms, we look at the root causes and say, right, deep down, what are the fundamental reasons why we have these challenges and how can we fix them? And for so many situations, we find that having more people active in the community makes a huge difference, because community engagement and community ownership of solutions is a huge part and parcel of successful projects. And at the same time, having a strong European legislative agenda as well, where you can actually have a direction set by the European institutions that will enable funding to go the right way, that can enable the political direction to go the right way. So the combination of local activism combined with a European agenda is what I believe makes Volt so completely unique and so necessary, because we need that engagement from people. Like I said in the beginning, not a lot of people in Denmark are necessarily politically active, even though they vote, but everybody understands that there's a huge impact coming from European legislation. And then we need to find out, but how do we impact that legislation the other way around? How do we benefit from that legislation? And it's a training exercise for sure, but it's also something that we work with on a daily basis and learn from each other. Just having that ongoing conversation between so many people around Europe. We're thousands of people active in many different parts of Europe, and that's very energizing. Which also is why we're called Volt. We get that a lot. Isn't Volt, that food delivery service and stuff like that? And it's good fun. We lean into it and we say, well, we deliver political ideas. But Volt is also it's the potential in an electric system, and that's what we're trying to do: energize politics and communities around Europe.
That's a nice illustration. I like how you turn that into your own benefit, so people actually know what you're talking about. That's great. And what are, like in Denmark, you weren't Denmark wasn't able to get enough signatures, but how does that work, or why do you think that it's maybe harder in Denmark to do so? What's your analysis?
Well, I would say the Danish community is not necessarily a very we take our time, and we look at things that we recognize, and we look at things and go, well, let's just see how they go. That's my impression. My impression is that when it comes to political parties and political engagement, it's for the long term, and you can have people running for political office who either have a lot of funding. We've seen that. We've seen a party like on the right, Nye Borgerlige in Denmark, who were quite well funded to begin with, so they were able to push a lot of advertising, a lot of awareness, and have very well made videos and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, you have parties that are well established in the media, so you know the narrative, you know the people. And so for new parties, there are two things here that are big challenges in Denmark. So one is the funding. So do you have access to finances? And the other thing is, are you familiar? Do people know who you are? Have people seen you before? Do people know what you stand for? And do people recognize what you say? And are you a frequent? Are you frequently put in the media? And what we've seen in Denmark is that getting in the media in the past has required either that you are very dramatic and very perhaps even aggressive in your political stance, that you create a huge uproar. Perhaps even we've seen what happened with the vegan party in Denmark. You know, they did great things. They went into, you know, try to show how animals were being mistreated, and they got in the media. But they also broke the law to do these things. And I have no interest in breaking the law. Like I said in the beginning, for me it was very important to also have a sustainable and long-term approach to being politically active. So and then when I speak to reporters and when I speak to journalists, and I hound them down, I call them and say, so this happened now with Volt in Spain, Volt in Germany, Volt in Sweden. You know, isn't it time that you guys talk about us? And there is still this confusion about what is a pan-European party. Is Europe really a topic that we talk about in Denmark? Those are fair questions that I try to answer every time that I possibly can when it comes to the media. But the last thing and the most important thing is, of course, that every time that I meet someone on the street or on social media or in a debate or something, and they go, oh, I really like what you're saying, or my cousin voted for you in Italy, or I've actually seen your posters somewhere before, I know that we're going to make an impact. And I know that we're making a difference because we're showing the way of doing politics differently for people. So yes, we may not be across all the different media platforms, but for the people that we're trying to make a difference for, we do reach people. So that's very nice. It's very rewarding, and it's also for me probably what will make us a long-term political party, because we're building it from the bottom up, and we're going slow and steady. Slow and steady. Sorry, we're going slow and steady, which is good. I think it's not a sprint, as we say.
It's not a sprint. It's a nice way of saying it as well. And I think, I mean, since this podcast is also very much for internationals living in Denmark, very fitting to ask you, well, first of all, why should EU citizens living in Denmark, so that are not Danish, vote here? Like, why is that relevant? And you also told us, like, if Volt is a pan-European party, maybe even the international communities in your respective countries, in this case Denmark, is more relevant than ever, or like, how do you see that?
Yes. So first of all, European citizens living here, a lot of people live here for many years and feel and are connected to the Danish politics, or even perhaps more predominantly are disconnected from the politics of their home country. That's some of the feedback I get a lot, is saying, well, I mean, I don't really follow what happens at home anymore, so I'd rather vote here. Some also say that, well, I mean, I don't trust any of my politicians back home, so I would rather vote here, because then at least I can vote for someone whom I can, that is not corrupt or something. But I think what the problem is that there is no European debate in Denmark. And, it's been a couple of weeks, and we've had these, we've had a surge of social democrats saying that, about migration, and we have the whole right-wing political spectrum in Denmark calling out migration issues. And it's quite awful that the only, or the predominantly debate we have in Denmark is so the Danish word is fremmedfjendsk, and it's I don't even know how to really translate that into English, right? But just distrustful, I don't know, but trying to kind of cleave that them and us narrative into the Danish political debate, because the them and us narrative traditionally always works. You blame someone else for something, and then we can fix things. And as an historian who studied nationalism, this is like the bread and butter of nationalistic narratives, is creating an enemy somewhere and then pointing and saying, well, if we can just we can fix everything because these people are the ones to blame. And I think it's just absolutely awful when we live in a European democracy and we live in an EU, in the EU, and Denmark is a member of the EU, even though we do have our opt-outs. So to have a lot of people in Denmark voting for national elections, for local elections, for European elections, but which debates take place? That is not in Danish. How many debates have we even seen that take place after working hours? I have seen so many European parliamentary candidates going out to high schools, which is great, engage the young votes and whatnot. But what about the majority of people who have a job, who work, and how many debates can you actually attend if you are a field of, let's say, there are probably 100 active European parliamentary candidates. We only have 15 seats, right? So while the lists of each party may be long, how many candidates actually go out there and go out and represent their Danish party and also represent their European party, their Eurogroup? So when it comes to voting, and when it comes to European nationals in Denmark and across Europe, when they vote, and what actually drives the desire to vote, and what impact does that vote have? And I think it's fair to ask those questions of the candidates and say, what are you doing to include the European vote? What are you doing to engage in a European discussion? And the simple answer for me is people are not doing enough to have European discussions, because a European election is something that requires way more than just a normal 2.5 months, 3 months campaign trail blazing. I remember emailing op-eds, text suggestions to Danish media a year ago about how important it is with the European elections, and these topics should really be top of mind. For example, the agricultural policy really needs to be, a key part in the European debate, including security and our labor market changes. And people just weren't interested in printing them, because the feedback I got, and maybe it's because they don't want to print something from a small party in Denmark like Volt, maybe that's fair enough. But the general sense was that we're not going to print or really do much about the European elections until the spring of 2024, because that's when people start to get engaged. And
Kathrine, sorry to interrupt here. It's just because we are very curious about how Volt tries to capture the international vote here in Denmark. Is because now I notice that there is more and more activity from the side of internationals. I saw that a group of internationals from Copenhagen made this union, Fair or Fornuftig or something like that, a union for internationals. Right. I'm surprised that you were not there. Like it's in your home ground territory. And it's this Benjamin Schenkel, this American guy, who is driving the things down there. So I think there are people who want to get politically engaged, and I think Volt could capture that, because if so many of the other parties are not willing to, of course, Moderatorn is doing a really great job at pulling all those voices right now. So now it's just because basically they are the only ones who do anything in that direction. Let's be honest. But if you look at the other parties, they're not doing anything. So Volt could have a entry space, and yes, for European Parliament elections there is not much to be done. It's a bit late and so on. But there is a local elections coming next year, which where the international vote can have an extremely deciding position. You could actually, if I was running Volt, I would try to make deals with all the local ethnic associations, especially from the large groups, Ukrainian, Romanian, Polish, and get them, their leader, to run for Volt in a certain area, because right now there is not a big appetite, for example, to run for the traditional list, which is Social Democrats. That was the party of the internationals for decades. And you probably have seen that they have alienated with every occasion that group. So I'm pretty sure Volt could go in that direction, could really like pull those people. But I'm just wondering, why 6 years you're trying Volt? Why is it so difficult to get internationals to be represented by Volt?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, I think it's really important to know that it also takes a lot of time and effort to be politically active. And what we see again and again and again is that we have a lot of young people who are motivated to be part of Volt. Volt is also quite a young party, and young people in the European Union, they move. They move from one country to the other. They change jobs, they change housing, and honestly, it's something that we see again and again and again. Is that we seem to be a very good organization to welcome people and to encourage people to be politically active. And what we see is that then maybe they start in one part of Europe and then they move somewhere else and they go, but that's really great. I'll reach out to the local Volt chapter and start socializing there and start to get to know some people. And then I think the next step that you're talking about is getting people to run for local office. And I think that is such a huge thing to do, to put yourself in front of a political platform, to put yourself out there. I know you've done it in Narcis and super amazing work that you did and are doing. But I have no illusions about how scary it can be, how people might be concerned about what about job opportunities? Will it affect my work? Will it affect my studies? Will my friends like me? What about my family life? What about these things? And there are a lot of X factors when it comes to stepping up on the public platform, for sure. So you gotta have your mind into it, and you gotta have also, I think, the ability to say, I am here and I want to run on this platform because I want to make some changes, and those changes will take some time, because being I think also another thing to be wary of is, do people feel welcome in the Danish political debate if you have an accent? Do people feel welcome if Danish is your third or fourth language, for example? Do we cater to an idea of an international sense of social engagement? And the way that I see Denmark at the moment is that we don't have that welcoming spirit, not in general. It's like it's a necessary thing that we need to change. And hopefully what we're trying to do, and what we will hopefully achieve eventually, is that learning how to be political, learning how to engage with the political process, learning that one thing is to stand on the street with a placard and say, please everybody do this. And then the next step is to then be confronted by someone who disagrees with you. And, how do I then engage with that disagreement? Do I go back and think that, oh, my day is ruined because someone disagreed with me? Or are you motivated to continue the conversation? And I am fully aware of how hard it is, how taxing it is to be in the public sphere. So I fully understand why some people might be reluctant take that step, as you say, to go out and be active and run for office. You did it, Narcis. You did it, and you're, I think you're amazing for doing it. I hope more people follow in your footsteps, because we need that.
Kathrine, my experience has been that when I try getting more people to run, we managed to get quite a few. Like it was like 20 or something that we managed around the country to run last time in 2017. My experience was that we would have had more people if we had some sort of a political academy, because a lot of people would like to try, but they all requested some sort of knowledge support, some sort of training, some sort of preparation. So if Volt, because I mean, hopefully now Volt will get some seats in the parliament, right? In Germany, especially, or Spain. If you get some seats, you'll have some funding. Yes, you don't have funding in Denmark, fair enough, but you could maybe direct a little bit of the funding from the European level to make a project like a Volt Political Academy across Denmark. And then you could get these people to be trained to run for elections, because there is many who have an appetite and who have the courage, but they just don't want to feel stupid when they do it, right? So you just have to create them the space to be educated in that direction.
I am nodding here. I know it's a podcast, so I want to I want to say how much I am nodding to everything you say. And we do have a Volt Academy within Volt, and every candidate has this training, and we have some really great people who have also who've done training at the Harvard Kennedy School on public interaction, on social dynamics, and we do a lot to train our candidates. And so
okay, but now you just need to take some of that money and promote, so people know that you exist and that those academies exist. I think it's just, maybe you should try to organize them in collaboration with local actors in different parts of Denmark. That's your best hope moving forward. But we need to move forward with the podcast, and we are switching now to second part, where we're going to discuss about your standings on the union. And I'm really curious to hear what is Volt's opinion on Europe's future. Like, where do you see the next step to be? Right, we are like kind of are we a federation? Are we a confederation? Are we a Frankenstein monster in the between? What is the future of Europe in the eyes of Volt?
So the future of Europe entails a much more federalized Europe. At the end, we're looking at a federal Europe, and that's the long-term vision. It means that you have an elected president of the EU, for example, elected by people, not by a closed room with a few heads of state. But our dream of a federalized Europe is not the United States of Europe. We're not looking at the US and going, wow, that works so well, let's copy that. We're not doing that. We're literally saying we are so resourceful in so many areas, but if we continue to act like 27 different units, rather than looking at people who work together can achieve many things together, then we will not be able to stand up to the developments that happen from east, from west, from south, from everywhere around the world. So the future for Europe, as Volt sees it, is one of community and social engagement, from the local to the national, to the European, with a political party like Volt that can actually connect the dots between what happens in a town somewhere in France, and connecting that to what happens to in a East Jutland town, and maybe we can learn from each other and the experiences that are done in different places. But the essence of this is working together, sharing our experiences, sharing best practices, and basically looking at, like I said in the beginning, looking at the root causes of some of these challenges that we face, and actively seek out how can we solve these, rather than being diverted by populists or by what appears to be easy solutions, but simply actually end up kicking the problem down the road.
If I can just intervene here, because you're speaking of populists and speaking of challenges ahead, I wanted you to comment a little bit on the future after the U.S. election in November, and specifically regarding defense, security. We have a war in Europe right now, in Ukraine, with a potential re-election of Donald Trump in the U.S., but also just in general, what is the future in terms of security, defense? How do we hold this European continent, and how do we create peace again, basically?
Yeah. If we go back to 2022 and we remember the 3 months of defense opt-out debate that we had in Denmark, for the first time since I can recall, really, we had a debate in Denmark that was pretty much based on facts, based on the reality of what happens in the defense world, how Denmark is actually could benefit from joining the European Union when it comes to defense, how things are funded, how NATO actually works, and how the EU could complement the work that is done in NATO. And that was wonderful. It was wonderful to be part of a conversation that, because of the time constraints and the urgency, which was awful, which was the invasion of Ukraine. But for 3 months, we actually had a very strong discussion in Denmark, in the public sphere, about one important topic, and a lot of facts came out on the table. And I believe that the Danish population is much more aware of the state of the Danish defense, the state of the European defense. We're much more aware of how we need to build a European defense, and we are acutely aware of how we are relying on the production ability of, for example, the U.S. military. At the same time, we've also learned that we cannot be relying on the U.S. We simply cannot trust that the US will always be there. And I think the blind trust that we've seen in the past from Danish parliamentarians when it comes to the Danish-US relationship is now also being questioned, as it rightly should, because we cannot just be blind followers of the dream of an uncomplicated Danish-US relationship. So when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to building a defense capability within the EU, we need to both look at the practicalities of it. So who was able to build what in the EU? And for me, it's also really important to look at the values of having a shared defense. So what does that mean when I say values in a shared defense? But for example, the idea of investing in huge new armament development simply because, okay, we need to have cluster munitions because that's what we need to do in Ukraine. I think it is incredibly important to have our eyes wide open when it comes to expanding the EU capabilities, because we're looking at a new sense of global warfare when it comes to both digital warfare, but also cyber security and these things. So the diversity with which we need to approach defense is really important, and so we need to force ourselves to go beyond the traditional discussions of, okay, how many weapons do we need to buy, and how many missiles systems do we need to buy, how many planes do we need to buy. And it kind of links to this discussion that's also taking place now about women in the defense force, where there are some traditional voices saying that women shouldn't necessarily join the defense force. Women shouldn't be forced to volunteer. What's it called? Værneplikt.
Prescription? I forgot the name. Conscription.
Yes, exactly. Conscription. And I think the yes/no discussion on that is a bit faulty, because we're also looking at a new a new era, unfortunately, of combat, which is much more about cyber warfare, but much more about digital warfare. And we need not only diversity in our ranks, but we also need diversity in the way that we approach our security situations. And most importantly, I think we need to look at how we can strengthen our ability to interact not just with each other inside the EU. So I think in order to really build a European defense capability, we also need to improve the way that we talk to each other and cooperate and train together and work together. And I think, you know, it's never hurt to have greater diversity when it comes to improving the way that we work together. That is, I think, a proven concept by now.
Well, you for sure have many visions on this. So one thing that is about parliamentarians in the European Parliament is that they cannot initiate laws. So would you, in this theoretical discussion, would you be in favor of giving, well, basically the option for European parliamentarians, who should they have the right to initiate laws? Or is this like maybe not the most important thing right now? What do you think? Just very short.
Yes, the European parliamentarians whom the 450 million people in the EU vote for, they should be able to propose law. Right now, the Commission has the legislative initiative, and we have the negotiations that then take place. We have the processes that take place between the different EU institutions. So the conversation is ensured. But for sure, the European parliamentarians, the elected officials, should of course be able to propose legislation. Yes.
Fantastic. I think we can move on now to the quiz time and find out, Kathrine, how well do you know the European project? First question is very easy. It's super easy question. Like, what is the capital of the European Union?
I'm gonna go with Brussels. Is it Strasbourg? No.
Yes, officially in the Treaty of the European Union, France has requested that Strasbourg is the official capital. That's why the European Parliament is moving once a month, there.
You know, there should be better train connections to Strasbourg, and then maybe I would get that answer right.
No, but it's a tricky question. I knew it because everyone would say Brussels. It's just Brussels. If everyone refers to Europe, Brussels. But in reality, it's actually Strasbourg. That's the real capital of Europe. Second question. Who is the founding father of the federalist movement in Europe? You said you perceive yourself as a kind of a federalist.
I know. Yeah, I know. What the frick? Spinoza. Yeah?
Who is this Spinoza?
Spinelli. Sorry, Spinelli.
Spinelli,
yes.
Exactly. Altiero Spinelli.
Sorry.
Our founding father from Italy. He, in the political prison.
I was going to say, exactly, Ventotene, the Treaty of Ventotene. Yes.
He wrote the manifesto for a federal Europe, right? He wrote it on cigarette paper.
I think there's a book. There's a book by Umberto Eco where he kind of borrows a little bit of that narrative and puts it in his story. It's I forget the name of the book, but yeah.
Okay, nice. And then the third question: in how many EU states we have mandatory voting for European Parliament elections?
Oh, I mean, Belgium is one. I know that because I went there, which was very nice, by the way, honestly, because everybody has to vote. So everyone is quite, okay, I am going to vote. So what should I vote for? Mandatory. Oh, how many? I'm going to go with 4.
But can you
but I know I can't. This is really no, I can't.
It's fine. I mean, the other one will obviously be Luxembourg, right? They're so close to Belgium. Let's just do what they do.
What they do, they vote.
But you'll be surprised who else is next. Bulgaria.
I was gonna say Romania, but okay, Bulgaria, yes.
No, God, no. Their voting percentage there is under 40%, so far from that. Greece.
Oh.
Actually. And because Greece does something, guess who else does?
Oh, Cyprus. Yeah.
Exactly, Eurovision, right?
12 points. No, actually. So wait. So it was 4 countries, right?
5.
Yeah, okay, 5. Yeah, okay. It's close.
The two brothers.
Yes, true. I forgot. I forgot Luxembourg.
Was the old one out. Well, unfortunately, many people seem to be forgetting Luxembourg. We're gonna move now to the next next part, where it's like a shorter part than used to be, where we have just like one question about the citizen. How do you perceive the citizen in Europe?
Yes.
Citizenship?
Yes, exactly. So the citizen, so EU citizens. So there's this issue of when you move from one EU member state to another, you're kind of, well, at least there's a perception among some people that it's not really, you're not really equal. You're not necessarily seen as both with like rights, but also as a European, you're not really seen as part of maybe Denmark, or maybe you just don't feel like you are treated that way. So, but in a way, it's like if you move from Aalborg to Copenhagen, you know, you're still Danish. You might have a funny accent, but that's kind of fine. So, do you see a discrepancy here? Like, how do we fix that? Because I think it's the question, the problem is probably quite well researched, but also a lot of different perceptions. But how do we tackle that in a concrete case?
Yeah. So I think everyone listening to this podcast will nod to the sense that, well, I wasn't born here, and I didn't go to public school with all my friends, so naturally it's hard to find Danish friends. I think is the recurring theme of many people's experiences coming to Denmark, and which is really sad, I think, because while everybody in Denmark speaks very well English, it's like, yeah, but now I have to go home to my family and see you Monday. Coupled with the desire to plan everything in Denmark also makes it very difficult to be spontaneous, and so there are some structural barriers in the Danish society that makes it difficult. Something that I really think that we could be a lot better at in Denmark is giving a platform to the international community. Something in Copenhagen, what they're doing is you've got refugee walks. It's called something else. It's expat tours. It's an organization here crossing borders, and they do this thing where they invite internationals to come and give a walking tour of Copenhagen. So most tourists will come to Copenhagen, and you might be, oh, I can just find my own way around, but it's also nice to get that kind of to be introduced to a town by a local person. And obviously, having lived in a city for a month makes you much more local than the tourist that comes and have never been here before. And why I'm telling this story is because the realization that just by being put in a situation where you know a little bit more, and where you are seen as a local, where you are in a position where you can share some information that other people don't have. It's really easy, and it enables such a good feeling of belonging when you are invited to take ownership of the community where you live, and the town where you live, and you bike around, and your grocery shopping and everything. And in general, I don't think that we do that at all in Denmark, and we could do that a lot more, giving a platform and letting other people, run the agenda.
I think it's interesting because you yourself have just went around, right? You went as a Danish person running in Belgium in their European Parliament elections, in a way. So you got to perceive the other way around, right? Because that's what what we're trying to get here is like, why are we still in a situation where we are calling EU citizens when they're moving around immigrants?
Yeah.
I feel like we need to probably go past that. That I know it's probably unfair to the non-Europeans, but it is what it is right now, and European citizens are no longer, or should not be any longer, perceived as immigrants.
Agreed.
No. Okay. That's great.
Damn it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kathrine. We'll move on to the next part, the last part, actually, the identity. We want you to share with us the moment when you have discovered that you are European. When have you really perceived that? Don't tell me when you were a baby, you seen the lights out in the sky, and like,
No, I realized it when I was in Australia. So I studied in Australia for 6 months back in 2003, and it was a great 6 months. I loved it. And it really highlighted to me how much I value that I can travel for 3 hours and be in a different country and speak a different language and eat different things. And in Australia, you can travel for, you can drive across a country in 2 days and you'll still be speaking the same language and you'll still be eating the same food, and and so I really truly valued the cultural diversity of the EU, while at the same time feeling completely like I belong. Like as an EU citizen, I feel that I have the rights that we talk about as EU citizens, the ability to travel, the ability to get a job, to get a house if I wanted, if I, sign a lease, get access to things. It's such a privilege and prerogative in the EU, while at the same time being able to enjoy such rich history, diversity, language, food, weather, sun, ice. So 2003 was probably the year I really truly understood that I was European and how happy I was about that.
Fantastic. I guess you have your EU flag somewhere around the house.
Yeah.
On yourself.
This is not actually my house at the moment where I'm sitting, so I can't show you.
No, you don't have to show us. We're now with you anyway, so. But you can just tell us if you have it or not at home.
No, I have a little cup. I have a little cup with a Vault logo. I don't necessarily see with the European stars, but I think what I would love to see much more is those European stars everywhere on things, because I think now we see the blue flag and the stars that mean unity, and but I think we could probably spread the awareness of the EU a lot more if we started using the stars in a broader context, and not always putting them on the blue background, but just putting them on all sorts of background. Because
I know what you mean. I mean, on 9th of May in the morning, every 9th of May, I raise the flag in my garden, the EU flag. But unfortunately, I'm the only one in my village who does that. So we're still far away from seeing the flag everywhere. But we will move now on to the last segment of our podcast, which is the challenge.
We want to challenge
you a little bit. Better than the quiz.
Our fun little challenge here at the end is basically you have to tell us 2 compelling facts from your political journey, or 2 beliefs that you hold about the EU, like just extremely short statements. And one of them has to be true, and one has to be false. And then we guess which one is true.
Yeah, it's our
Wait.
turn.
Wait. So I have to tell a story?
You can torment us.
Do I have to tell a story or a fact?
A fact, like
what?
just a short statement, fact, not a story.
Well, one of them will be a story, won't it? And the other will be a fact. Wow. Let me think.
You're a politician. You should be able to lie on spot.
Yeah, no, I'm not that kind of a politician. I'm one of the good kinds. Yeah. So when I was traveling in Belgium, when I was there, the whole mini house development was really burgeoning up, and I was quite excited to be talking about how small we used to live in Copenhagen, like the smaller apartments, and I used a lot of our Danish experiences in Belgium, and it worked. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes they looked at me like, yeah, okay, go home to Denmark and just do your things there. And what I just realized was that, I didn't realize, but it was an underlining factor was that Europe shouldn't be a place where it's all about you're doing things wrong, do things this way, it'll all be fine. It is about communication, about understanding the origins of people's circumstances, and then addressing those circumstances in a good way. So that's one statement. And the other statement is that when I was in Italy for one of our seminar conferences, there is this sound in the background. I don't know if you can hear it.
No, it's all good.
Okay, thank God. Okay. But when I was in Italy for a conference with Volt, and we were standing on one of these big staircases, and the carabinieri came because they weren't sure that we had the proper permit to be congregating in such a big group. And then we showed them our European flag and our vault, and they were like, it's fine, bene. And they kind of left us alone again. And another reminder that I keep doing what we're doing, keep building this political platform of both community and political ambitions, because everywhere I go, I see more and more confirmation that we're on the right path of building a better European community.
That's fantastic to hear. And Zoe, what do you think is the wrong one?
You said you weren't good at lying, but you clearly are, because I'm very much in doubt. Both are very compelling. I really don't know. A shot in the dark is, I'll say that the second one is false. It's probably like half truth. I'm guessing the false part is that you got kicked out or something like that. I don't know. That's my guess.
Very good. Okay.
And I'm going for the first one, this mini house thing. I never heard of it, and I think you will not go with the Danish story in your presentations. And it was way too elaborated to be false.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. The first one is false. But a little bit of truth in it, and a little bit of truth in both of them, because I did learn a lot in the Belgium campaign, so much. Not just talking to people, but also learning that because I was number 4 on the list. It was the first time Volt was running. Volt was 2 years old at the time. It was, the fact that we got one European parliamentarian in 2019 was amazing. But I learned that you can be without fear when you're in a situation where, like I was in Belgium, where I knew I wasn't going to win a seat. Like, intellectually, I knew I wasn't going to win a seat, so I had nothing to lose. I could just go out and learn and do and test and try. And it was really valuable, and it was really everything that I learned from that month of campaigning, I bring forward with me today. So yeah, I did learn a lot.
That's fantastic, Kathrine. And to be honest, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with the international community in Denmark. We hope that that Volt will become more visible in here, and that you'll be more present among the non-Danish EU citizens. Who knows? Maybe you'll become one of their voices in here.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I think thank you everyone for listening, and remember, as an EU citizen, you have the right to either vote in the country of residence or in the country of origin for the European Parliament elections. And luckily for you, vote is in both. So.
And I can
you here
exactly
are having
and
votes.
maybe I can do one last thing, because Volt is running in 15 countries. So if you are voting in your home country, you're not voting in Denmark, then consider voting for Volt in Germany, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, France, Cyprus, Greece, Malta, Bulgaria, Slovakia, or Czech Republic, and also Sweden, where you will find me on the next Saturdays in Lund, handing out flyers and talking about Volt, because Volt is also running in a neighboring country.
Fantastic. Stay tuned until the next episode of VOTEHOME, the podcast serial that wants you to have a choice on 9th of June 2024.